Where were you born?
I was born in Bridgeton, New Jersey. It's out on the East Coast, but ended up moving to Millville for like a year, and then after that it was Vineland. I spent most of my days up in Vineland, so that's where I like pretty much was raised and born, and like not born but grew up. You know what I mean? So
And that's New Jersey.
yeah, yes sir. That's pretty much home.
And where do you reside these days?
These days I'm out on the West Coast, out in LA. Moved out there.
Okay. Now, what age were you? Excuse me. What age were you when? Excuse me. What age were you when you moved to LA?
To LA, shit, that was 3 years ago. I'm 27, so I guess I was like 24ish, probably there, around there.
Now, was it a blind move in the sense you just pick up your things and go, or had you been traveling back and forth to LA before you make that decision?
Oh no. I wasn't really doing too good out there in New Jersey. I was like working a normal 9 to 5, and I was pretty much just hating life and shit like that. I wouldn't say I was getting suicidal, but I was getting to the point where I was like, man, if this is what life is, like, cause I was trying so hard, you know, to work normal jobs and shit like that. So I don't know. I was like, if this is what it's gonna be, like, I kind of don't even want to be allowed to be anymore. And right before I got to that point, you know, I became homeless and shit like that. And I was like, if I'm gonna be homeless, I might as well go out to LA or go out to the West Coast and just see what that's about, you know. So there was really no planning necessarily. I want to say maybe there was like 4 or 5 months in preparation, and for those 4 or 5 months, I didn't really have much. I told myself I was gonna save up a certain amount. I only went out there with maybe like $1,000 from the job that I was working with. And I went out there and just kept telling myself, this is what's going to happen when I go out there. This is what's going to happen when I go out there. And one thing led to another, and I went out there and shit started working out.
Now, how long did it take for things to start working out for you? Rough estimate.
Probably like a month or two. I got out there and, you know, I was just kind of bouncing around, not really knowing what to do. And then I kind of got this like little dispensary job for like, probably for like a year or so. I got this little dispensary job, and that was basically cutting it. It was paying the bills for a little bit. I was working like all the time though. I had no time off or anything like that. I wasn't even really doing a lot of music at the time. This was probably about, like I said, 3 years ago. So I was just like, man, fuck this. Like, I don't know. I was like, it's working though, you know what I mean? I'm out here, palm trees, it's nice weather, nice weed, you know what I mean? Nice food. It was a change up from what I was used to, and I was so fucking grateful for that. So at that point in my life, that was like a big turning point. I was happy about that.
So just for a little bit more clarification, you were homeless before you moved to LA, or you moved to LA and you were homeless at the beginning?
Well, both. I was homeless. Like, I was living with this girl. I was with her for like 5 years, and we started kind of bumping heads and shit like that. And she lives with her pops and shit like that, you know what I mean? So like we were all living together, and it was cool for a while, but then like we all were just on different pages with certain things. So that's when I became homeless at that point. And then, like I said, I was homeless working this job. I didn't really like it. I was actually living in this abandoned building. The first night I became homeless, I went like out looking around like, man, fuck, man, I need to find somewhere to stay. I kept telling myself like, fuck, there's got to be somewhere. And sure enough, dude, I found this abandoned building with a nice bed in there. I don't know how the fuck that happened. Truly felt like something was looking out for me at that point in my life. And, you know, I just got this idea like, man, if this is what life is going to be, you know, I just got to go, you know, and I went.
The abandoned building, for clarification again, that was in Jersey or that was in LA?
That was in Jersey. When I finally moved to LA, like I said, I went out there with about $1,000, and I was basically doing an Airbnb, but it was a tent in someone's backyard, so it was like $15 a night. Or no, yeah, I think it was like $15 a night or some shit like that. And I was doing that for a while, and within that month is when I found that dispensary job out there. So I was living in this fucking tent for a while, maybe for like two or 3 months, and then I started to stack up a little bit of money. Somehow rent a car, you know what I mean, from this guy, random guy, not even like a legit company, just some fucking random guy. Rent a car from him, and he's like, yo, dude, I got this little tiny house in my backyard. Fucking start living there. I was like, damn, dude, this shit's getting crazy. And at that point in my life, that was the first time I felt truly safe, because I was like, holy fuck, man, like, I'm okay. You know what I mean? Like, there's nobody here, you know what I mean? Like, I'm okay, you know what I mean? I have this own little thing I could call home for once. I don't know, it was weird. That was the first time I felt safe, though, bro.
Once you arrived to LA, how long were you homeless for before things stabilize? Rough estimate, because I know you've been there for about 3 years, you mentioned.
Yeah, it was probably like probably like 2 months. But I mean, I was in that tent and it was in a backyard, so I don't know if you want to consider, I mean, yeah, that's fucking homeless. I mean, I was able to go inside this house and take a shower, but that was like, you know what I mean? I was living in this tent though. So I don't know, that was for like 2 months. And then those, within those 2 months, like I said, I got the job within the first month. Within the next month, I met that dude with the car. And then I think it was that second or like within to the third month, that's when I got into that little tiny home. So that was a big fucking deal for me. It really was. I was very grateful. I started to feel like things were working out. Like, oh man, because when I first got out there, I was like, man, what the fuck am I doing out here? This is even a bigger mess than what I was from what I was used to. Because Jersey's a lot smaller than California. But I was like, fuck, man, I'm just tripping out, man. Like, I don't know. I started to get nervous and shit, but things started to work out. I just kept faith. I don't know.
When did music kick in? In that 3-year span. Yeah,
music started to kick in finally when I had a base to fucking, like I could, a place to sleep, place to shower, place to wake up to, no one's saying shit, I'm not, you know what I mean? I know I'm not bothering nobody, whatever. That's when I started to, really, really focus on music. I always loved music my entire life. I used to freestyle growing up. Any of the homies who are watching this, they already know, when we were youngins, we used to fucking freestyle all the time. Some of us pursued music, some of us didn't. But it really, really kicked into gear when I finally got into that little tiny home. And I started working, started saving up a little bit of money, did a little bit of studio time. Got some presets on my computer and shit like that, so I started recording at the house and shit like that. And that's when I finally started taking it a little bit serious, but at the same time, I was still with this girl that I was telling you about earlier. And she was out there in Jersey, and it was a big fucking mess relationship. It really was, to be honest with you. But so I was really focused on that, and I was putting way too much effort into that at the time. So that's why, you know what I mean? I actually have an album called The Love Show, and that's what pretty much that whole shit is about that whole phase of that whole chapter phase of my life,
So when you move out of, again, clarification, when you move out of Jersey, you go to L.A., were you technically broken up with this female when you move?
No, I wasn't technically broken up. Even when I was homeless out there, I wasn't technically broken up. We were just kind of like shaky and shit like that. But yeah, when I went out there, I was trying to make it work with her and shit like that. And that's why, you know what I mean? She was supposed to move out there, and it turned into like, yeah, I'm going to move out there in a month. I'll be ready in a month. The month turned into another month, another month. You know what I mean? It was one of those deals. I guess it was just like, looking back, I guess, she really didn't want to move. You know what I mean? But I really did want to move. That was the only place I felt safe at that point, you know what I mean? There was nothing going on where I'm at, or where I was from at least, you know what I mean? So I had to get the fuck out.
So for chronological purposes, because we've been building a timeline here, in this 3-year span you've been in L.A., you mentioned when music kicked in, but you didn't really state time-wise when. So would you be able to say like 3 months into that L.A. move, the music kicked in?
Or? No. I'd probably have to say maybe like...
Rough estimate.
Probably like 6 months, because that's when I finally I was working a lot, like I said. I was even working 24 hours some days, like, which just sounds fucking nutty, but there's a little dispensary that was like off the books and shit like that, but they're not open no more. They got shut down. But yeah, I was working there like 24 hours, so I was working a lot. So finally I had to save up a little bit of money, and then when I had like a little bit of time off and shit, I started fucking around on my computer, started making a couple of different things, and I was like, man, yeah, I need to get this out. Did that song with Lil B. I got connected to him, and that was like one of the first songs I think I dropped on like major platforms. I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think that's what it was. It was either that or something else, I don't know. But I did that, and after that, I was like, man, this shit's fun. It makes me feel good at least. I feel alive when I'm doing this shit. When I listen to music, it makes me feel alive. There's something about music that just transcends the human experience. I don't know how to explain it other than that. But yeah.
Were you doing music prior to the LA move?
A little bit, but it wasn't really being taken serious, Like I said, me and the homies were freestyling and shit, when we were smoking, getting high and shit like that, and just having a good time. And sometimes people would be like, yo, bro, you should fucking do this for real. And I'm like, yeah, And then, like, I try to go into a studio, and I'm like, man, this shit ain't me, you know what I mean? But it just wasn't my time at the time. Like, I go in now and just have a fucking good time, and just whatever comes out, and that's my self-expression. If someone can feel that, cool. If not, you know what I mean?
Now, it's been 3 years since you moved to LA.
Yeah, just about. Maybe 3.5 now. Probably going on 4.
Any plans of leaving LA anytime soon?
I really like it out on the West Coast. Probably definitely not going back to the East, you know what I mean? Definitely not going back to Jersey or anything like that. Probably just going to stay out on the West Coast. Yeah, I like LA a lot. It's easier to pursue things. I meet a lot of people out there, a lot of different connections, networking, you know what I mean? And it's good with inspiration. There's a lot of diversity out there, so
Those sound like pros about being in LA. What are the cons?
It's expensive as shit, but like, to be honest with you, taxes are the most highest in Jersey, and I believe it's California. So it's like if I could do it in Jersey, you know what I mean? I feel like I could do it out there in California. So I mean, it is expensive as hell, the traffic. But this is my first time in ATL, and I feel like, you know, the traffic out here is just as fucking crazy almost. You know what I mean? So it's like, wherever you go, it's always gonna have its cons and shit like that. I try to just focus on the pros because what the fuck, you know what I mean? Focusing on the cons and shit, like, yeah, I mean, places got their cons, but, you know, I don't know. I'm just trying to focus on the positive and shit like that. Be grateful for what is out and presented in front of me at the time, you know?
Now, when you first moved to LA, you were in this Airbnb tent.
Yeah.
What is your dwelling like at this point, 3 years later? That was the before. What's the after look like?
Shit, man. I mean, right now, I'm in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, you know what I mean? The homie lives there right now, but he's probably gonna go back to Jersey soon. He just came out to see what was up type shit. But I'm living there right now, and it's out in the desert and shit. It's really beautiful, you know what I mean? It's real peaceful and shit like that. So right now, I'm feeling really good. You know, I finally found, like, I got a little home base, you know what I mean? But, I don't know. I got other homies talking, you know, I got this little, like, basically, I just got a couple people that want to do music and shit, so I'm, you know, basically starting up this little group and shit like that. But we might get a bigger crib out there in LA. I'm not sure, not really sure yet. But it's a lot better than what it was 3 years ago. To be honest with you, to be here right now is even a little bit surreal from what I'm from and from what I'm used to. You know what I mean? So,
how did you overcome this scenario? What do you think your key to overcoming this was? We talked about the before and the after. You may have answered this question already in the interview, but just in case it wasn't clear to the audience, what do you think, overall speaking, got you from the tent to this 3-bedroom situation? I think that's what you said.
Yeah, it was nothing but believing, to be honest with you. When I was younger, I found this little coin on the ground, and it was like at a really weird fucking point in my life, but when I picked it up, it said, all things are possible to him who believes. And I don't know, man. That shit did something to me when I picked that up when I was young. And I don't even think I really understood what it did to me at the time, but it did something, you know what I mean? And from there on out, it's like I could really give a fuck what anybody thinks. You know, maybe even some people might think this is crazy, but it's like I could give a fuck what the world's saying, whatever. It's like I almost live in my own reality because I get visions and shit like that. That's just like, and then, you know, they manifest and shit like that. So I trust in those. When I was younger, I didn't know, you know what I mean, exactly how that shit works. But as I got a little bit older, like, oh man, I'm thinking about this shit for 6 months at a time, you know, 6 months, and then, oh my God, it, you know, just manifest 6 months. Like, holy fuck, you know what I mean? So now I believe in that shit even more. I was maybe, you know, a little bit shaky about it before, you know what I mean? Because I didn't really know how that shit works, but at this point, you know what I mean? It's all about just having faith and really believing in your vision. I believe everybody, you know, everybody's made in God's image, but only if you're listening to what your passion is and what your heart is. Everybody tries to go some other fucking way. It doesn't work for them. They're wondering why their life's all fucked up. That was me. That's probably a lot of people listening to this right now. That's probably a lot of people out there. But I could promise you, like, on some real shit, if you listen to your fucking heart and just go that way, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be stepping out of your motherfucking comfort zone. I had to go out to LA. I didn't know nobody out there. I was homeless and shit, you know what I mean? At this point, I felt, you know, damn, I kind of feel safe here at this little abandoned building. At least I have some. I didn't know what the fuck I was stepping into. But there was this vision that it was a little idea. It's so small. Maybe life could be better. Maybe. I don't know, maybe. So I went off of that. And now I know, no, yeah, life can fucking be better. And the more energy you put into that, and the more energy, you know what I mean, you surround yourself that's based off of that, you know what I mean, things start to happen, you know, so.
Now, do you follow a religion? I know you mentioned God here in this interview, but do you follow a religion?
No religion at all. I was born like Christian and shit like that, like, you know, in the church, but I don't resonate with any of that. I've taken different practices from that actually do resonate with me, but I'm not into any religion at all, and I'm not saying nothing negative about no religion either. You know what I mean? I take truth from everything that's presented to me. There's some type of truth there. So no religion, but I could consider myself a spiritual person for sure. Yeah.
Now, why did you divert at some point, and when did you divert, if you're able to pinpoint it looking back? Because, like you mentioned, you were born Christian, raised that way.
Yeah.
What happened?
Shit, to be honest, think it was just time. Like, I don't know, I was born, so like, you know, when you're young, you don't really have a say what the fuck's going on, so you just go and you're with whatever's going on. And then a little bit older, you know, I started going to these churches and shit like that, and they were pointing a lot of fingers, making certain kids feel bad, and it was weird type shit. It wasn't the type of vibe that I was, you know, I was like, this seems a little bit weird. They're putting a lot of guilt on people more so than, you know, I don't know. It was a weird thing. It was a lot of finger pointing and shit, and I was like, man, I don't really resonate with this, so I stopped it going type shit. And that's probably around the time I started smoking weed, and you know what I mean, started experimenting with psychedelics and shit like that. And once I started doing things like that, straight up, I was just like, I started seeing things a little differently, and I was like, man, I don't know, man, like, people that claim to have the truth and they seem a little bit even more lost than most people, you know? So it's just like, I just started taking things a little bit slower, and I just started taking things for what it was, you know what I mean? So maybe I started, you know, diverting around that time, but I know at one point, maybe when I was like from 10 maybe to 14, I think I started to get atheist just a little bit. Never really considered myself that, but I was like, man, what the fuck's going on? This shit doesn't make no sense, you know what I mean? I was on that type of vibe. But then I started tuning in a little bit, and after that I started realizing, you know, reality a little bit more, so.
So just for a little bit more clarification, was it the drugs that get you to divert? Or were you already starting to divert and then the drugs may have just...
Nah, yeah, I was already starting to divert because of what I was being presented with. And, you know, started going off on my own. And I guess when you go off on your own, you know, you pick up certain things and you start experimenting, you know. So when I started doing that, I'm thinking, you know, and by any means, I'm not telling anybody to do anything in this, you know what I mean? But this is just my personal experiences. But, you know, when I started experimenting with things, I'm thinking, oh, you know, some funny shit's gonna happen, blah, 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 blah. But I took some shit, man, and, like, ended up having, like, a breakthrough on different things in my life that I needed to change and things that I didn't see before, but now I see them clearly, you know what I mean? So that's what happened when I started experimenting with certain psychedelic drugs. And, you know, I realized a lot of people tell me, yo, don't do that, don't do that. I'm like, man, they have no fucking idea, you know what I mean? Like, I understand, you know, why people say don't do certain things, but I just do what works for me at the end of the day, so.
What drugs were these exactly back then?
I experimented with quite a few things, but at the time I was definitely smoking a lot of weed, and then that probably went from that to like doing some mushrooms, maybe some LSD. I know at one point I started doing a lot of Xanax, and that shit took a fucking huge toll on my body, you know, my emotional, mental, and all that. I didn't realize what I was doing because I was just doing this shit like, you know, like whatever. But yeah, that shit took a huge toll on me. But I got nothing positive from Xanax at all. I'm not saying anything positive about that. That shit kind of just makes you numb to what the fuck's going on in reality. And you don't want to be numb to what's going on in reality. You want to be able to face that shit dead on and change things if you need to. But yeah, at the times, you know, it was that, Somali, MDMA, you know, things like that. Those are the things that I was doing at the time.
All of these list of drugs you mentioned, and what age was this or what grade were you, perhaps?
Probably like sophomore. That's when things started getting a little more heavy into that realm.
Now, when it came to these drugs, they were all recreational? None of them were prescribed to you?
No, hell no. No. Not even the Xanax or anything like that. I remember at one point, like, I started butting heads with my family and shit like that because my mom found out I was smoking weed and shit like that. She fucking freaked out. My parents was like, they were corrections officers and shit, you know what I mean? So they wasn't fucking with the idea of any of that. They weren't open to it. They were, oh, you're going to make us lose our jobs. So I ended up getting kicked out and shit. That's what I'm saying. I was homeless quite a few times, you know what I mean? But that was when I was probably like 14 or 15 or some shit. So I got kicked out around then. My parents weren't fucking with it. And then, yeah, I went to a homie's house from there. And like I said, at that point, I was already done with the church and shit, you know what I mean? So I was really just like kind of on my own trying to figure things out in life. Nobody was really guiding me and shit.
Again, clarification. When did the atheist feeling, vibe, or set of thinking come into the mix? Was this before the drugs? Was this during the drugs? Was this after the drugs?
No, that was before. That was I was young. That was probably before high school. That was before high school. So when I finally got into high school, like I can't even say atheist, but I wasn't sure, you know what I mean? I wasn't really believing in fucking anything at the time. I was like, man, I'm just neutral. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? But that was for a short period. I gotta say that was only for like two years. Maybe that was from like 7th grade to 8th grade or some shit, you know what I mean? It was a very short period of my life. I can't even, the fact that I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I was just, you know, I was a kid. Didn't really know what the fuck was going on.
You were raised under the roof of both parents?
No. My mom and my grandma raised me for most of my life. My Uncle Brad, he was there too, you feel me? It was all kind of like, you know, a big little family or some shit, I guess. I don't know. But eventually my mom got married to my stepfather. I think I was 6 around that time. And that was hard on everybody type shit because, you know, my stepfather, you know what I mean? Here he is, you know, he's in love with this girl. She's got a kid. It was a new dynamic for us all. It was kind of fucking weird. And me and him butt heads for a pretty long fucking time, to be honest with you. But we're cool now and shit, you know what I mean? I love that motherfucker more than anything. For real, he taught me a lot, you know what I mean? But it was hard in the beginning for everybody, you know what I mean? So...
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I chilled with my real pops maybe like 2 or 3 times in my whole life. He was like a big drug addict apparently, you know what I mean? And he had hella kids, didn't take care of them and shit like that. And you know what I mean? So I was just like, fuck, you know? So yeah, like I said, I chilled with him like 2 or 3 times, but I never really, not much from him, you know what I mean?
Nothing recent?
No, hell no. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Last time I talked to him, it was like some argument shit, so I just left it alone, and I was probably like 15 maybe.
When it comes to your parents splitting, do you know the real reason behind that?
Probably because my pop, like my real dad or whatever.
Correct, your biological father.
Yeah, I don't consider him a pops or whatever, but he just ain't having shit together. He was a big fuck up, like real shit though. You feel what I'm saying? Like, you know, he partied a lot, and that's one thing if you got your shit together. But if you got kids, and like I wasn't his first kid, he already had another kid, and my mom's was 18. You know what I mean, when she had me, so he already had kids and shit like that. And then I had another one, wasn't taking care of him. And to be honest with you, though, his side of the family was his mom, my grandma, I guess, on that side, was trying to fight for custody of me. And my mom was not letting that happen. My mom's and my grandma, on my mom, you know what I mean, on that side, they was like, nah, that shit's not happening. So I think they had to go to court and all that shit. But I'm happy as hell. My mom's and my grandma raised me, and my uncles and shit like that, because that's family right there. That's my family.
Do you know what age you were when your parents split?
Nah. I was young, though. I had to have been young. It couldn't have been, like, a long-lasting thing. Yeah, nah, it couldn't have been long. I don't know. Probably maybe, like, 1 or 2, maybe 3.
Were your parents ever married at one point?
Nah, they weren't married. They was young. Yeah.
Were you the only child on both sides?
On my...
Meaning, let me rephrase.
Yeah.
Same mother, same father, you were the only child?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But he had other... you know, baby moms and shit like that. And I had sisters and a whole bunch of motherfucking sisters, to be honest with you. One of them, rest in peace, Amber Patton. That was my older sister. I met her randomly on some fucking random shit in like 6th grade or something. I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're Amber Patton? I'm like, oh, I thought I have a sister named that. And, you know, she was like, yeah, who's your dad? And we start, you know, talking. I'm like, holy fuck, we have the same dad. And she got me introduced to Green Day and Blink-182. She's probably not the main influence, but she's a fucking influence for the rock vibe that I had today. You know what I mean? Her and my uncles and shit like that, because they put me on all of that. So rest in peace to her, for real.
Where did you bump into her when this happened?
This was at school in like 5th or 6th grade. I was talking to this one homie I know, and he was asking me, yo, bro, you got any sisters or anything? And I was like, at the time, I didn't even have my little brother and sister, who were the ones I grew up with, for real. But, yeah, I was like, yeah, I got this sister, Amber Patton. I don't know her, though, but my mom told me that, like, you know, I have a sister somewhere. And she was like, Amber Patton? Yeah, no, she goes to school here. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, bro, stop lying to me. And we met, and nah, bro, we hit it off. We were like 2 peas in a pod, you know what I mean? And she showed me a bunch of music. I'm showing her music, and it was just... You feel me? It was fucking nuts, to be honest with you. It really was. It was surreal. Life is surreal, though. I don't know, you know what I mean? But, nah, she passed a couple years back and shit. She has a kid, and I haven't talked to her. It's been so fucking long, you know? But she passed, and that shit was unexpected, and she has a kid and shit, so...
When it comes to Christianity, was it a certain denomination under Christianity that you were raised under specifically?
I think it was, like, Baptist or something. Yeah, something like that. But I don't, like I said, a lot of those parts of my life, it's just, seems like it was almost a whole other life. You know what I mean?
Because your mother raised you like this, your grandmother, technically speaking, they both raised you under Christianity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is their reaction to the way you think about religion and you being, well...
To this day?
Yeah, you being the spiritual person you described, what is their reaction to that? Because they were,
yeah,
you know, following Christianity.
Nah, I hear you. Shit, man, me and my mom shared a close relationship growing up, so I always felt like I could talk to her about anything. But when I started experimenting with different shit, and I would link up with, like for example, I always knew, oh, I can't tell her I'm smoking weed, so I kept that shit to the side. She found out one day and was like, holy fuck, blah, 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 freaked out, I got kicked out. And, you know, I was kicked out, and, you know, maybe like a year later, I had a magic mushroom experience, and I told her about it, and she freaked out again, and I was like, damn, like, she can't just be open-minded. I was like, I guess I can't talk to her about things, you know? So, for a while, man, I couldn't say shit to my mom about anything. Now I could talk to her about whatever. The shit I say holds weight to her now, because I've done things, and I've showed her things, and I've said things to her, hey, ma, blah, 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 and then, you know what I mean? So it's just like, the shit I say holds more weight now, you know what I mean? But at the time, yeah, she thought probably something was fucking wrong with me, because like she was one way of thinking, and I was on a whole other way of thinking, and she wasn't open to that at all. To that was just fucking chaotic and crazy, and it wasn't chaotic and crazy to me. It was just another way, you know what I mean? So.
But your views on religion and you being spiritual and how you think in that realm versus how she thinks, did that ever cause a rift between you two by any chance?
Nah, my mom wasn't super religious growing up, you know what I mean? But she was just all about wrong and right. So if she thought something was wrong and I was doing that, then she was fucking freaking out, and you know what I mean? And she was being a real mom about that shit, you know what I mean? But the whole religion thing, that never really caused any static or anything.
Okay. Now, when it comes to LA, kind of bringing LA back into the fold
For sure.
of the original topic here that I started out with, what's the party scene like?
The party scene, it's fucking crazy out there. It's the Wild West, like, especially from what I'm used to, it's the Wild West. So if you don't have a grasp on yourself and who you are, you can lose yourself out there quick as hell. I've had friends come out there, and I don't even know, I'm not gonna mention no names type shit, but I've had friends come out there, and I don't even realize, next thing I know, they're on some hard shit. And I'm like, yo, my boy, what the fuck happened? Like, you know what I mean? So I you know, everybody's, I guess, got their different definitions of what's hard drugs these days and shit, you know? But there's some shit, man, there's certain things you don't do type shit, and he was doing them, and I realized, damn, like, not just anybody can come out here, because if they don't have a grasp on who they truly fucking are, they'll get lost in different scenes. The party scene is as hard as you want it to be wherever you go. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just, you gotta be easy. You gotta be easy on what the fuck you're doing and experimenting with. And I feel like you are gonna be experimenting with shit. You should be testing what you're doing type shit. A lot of people don't do that these days, but you need to fucking do that. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not condoning it. I'm not telling nobody to go do nothing. I'm just saying, if you are, test your fucking drugs so you know what you're doing. Because there's some shit that could feel just like, oh, it looks the same, blah, 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 blah. No, bro, just test that shit. Motherfuckers are dying. And this isn't a new concept. It's been happening for a while. So the fact that it's still happening, motherfuckers just simply need to test their drugs. It's like a $20 kit, and you got that shit for a grip. You know what I mean? So.
In this scenario, you didn't mention who, but you said they were doing some hard, I'm going to bleep myself, some hard-ish.
Yeah.
What hard-ish? Well, you know, because you said it's all relative. So what did you mean specifically for the audience watching? Wondering.
For the audience watching, there was a homie doing meth and shit, and I was just like, damn, you feel me? When I found that out, like, I had to pick homie up from rehab, and he called me one day. I'm like, yo, I haven't heard from you in a week, bro. Like, what the fuck's going on? He's like, yo, bro, you got to pick me up from rehab. I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it was a joke, you feel me? Because, like, I ain't gonna front, man. Like, I fucking party, you feel me? But I got a grasp on, you know what I mean? I got a grasp on myself type shit. So when I hear the homies at rehab, it hit me in a different type of way, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, like, yo, can I even smoke weed with the homie? Like, what is gonna make this motherfucker do something that he shouldn't be doing? What made him do that from the rip? And then I realized it just comes down to personal things in people. You either know not to do certain things, or you know what I mean? Even me, though, like I said, I party and I do certain things that other people wouldn't do, but it works for me type shit. So I don't know. I guess it's all personal. But when homie started doing that, it was affecting his life. It was affecting his health. It was affecting, when that shit starts happening truthfully, and you know what I mean, you can't be who the fuck you are, that's a problem. You know what I mean? That's definitely a problem.
Now, you've experimented with a variety of drugs. I don't even know if you've listed them all in this interview, but you mentioned several.
For sure.
Have you personally ever experimented with meth? Meth,
no, but one time I was around some motherfuckers, and I was doing Molly that night. I was doing MDMA, and I will say this, and I was with one homie. I was with the homie Joey Zaza. Shout out to the fucking homie. But we was doing Molly one night. We was having a good old time, and this other homie came through, and he had a little bit of something else. He was like, "Oh yeah, I got some Molly too," but it was different. And we was already geeked out type shit. We was, you know what I mean? I'm not even gonna front. We was pretty geeked, and he was like, "Yeah, just try this Molly out. It's real good." And we took that. But when I took that, I didn't smoke it or nothing. I just, I just ate that shit. But when I ate that, I was like, everything got super different. Everything got super different, and I think that was meth type shit. And me and the homie to this day was like, "Yo, bro, I think that's what that shit was." And I was like, "Man, fuck that homie. We're not hanging out with him no more," because like we just knew. Because like I said, I like to test my shit. I like to know what the fuck I'm doing. And when homie gave me this, I was already, kind of under the influence. I didn't really think too much about it, I thought we was all on the same page, but that was for sure not what MDMA was, because I know what MDMA is, and that wasn't that.
Now, there's somebody watching this that might say, "You sound like an experimenter."
For sure.
You sound like any drug at a given point in time in your life, if you're curious, you might take that drug and try it. Why won't you try meth? And I'm not encouraging you to try it, but
for sure.
It sounds like that's something you won't touch.
Yeah.
Why won't you personally touch that?
I don't want to get too
voluntarily speaking.
No, for sure.
If it was
accidentally induced.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's different. But
I don't want to get too deep on this topic and shit, but there's all drugs get thrown into the same category, but in my head, there's drugs that can potentially help you as a person, and then there's drugs that are gonna harm you. They threw all them shits in the same category. They got people's minds fucked up a little bit. This is my personal belief, whatever the fuck anybody thinks, whatever. But I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just an intuitional thing. I don't know. But I just know that there's certain drugs you don't fucking do, because I guess you don't see nothing positive from them. Like, you don't hear motherfuckers having a breakthrough on meth and they're, they change their life for the better. You don't hear that shit with heroin. You don't hear that shit with perks. You don't hear it with Xanax. You don't hear that with any of them super duper man-made ones. And MDMA is another one that's man-made, don't get me wrong. But you could even look this shit up. People are rewiring their brain with it, the way they feel, the way they think. There's different therapies and shit like that are being discovered. And this shit's been going on since the 60s, but the work was all hushed up. Now it's, starting to make its way back. But I'm pretty in tune with all that work, and I think maybe that's why I know what the fuck, to do and what not to do.
So for you, what is the list of drugs you've never tried, won't touch, have no interest in, if there is a list?
Definitely, like I said, meth. Heroin, not into pills. I'm not gonna lie, I might be into ecstasy if I know it's MDMA, you know what I mean? But that's a different concept. But I don't know. I'm not into coke, I'm not into all that type of shit. It's pretty much entheogens, which is like psychedelics and shit like that, things like that.
Okay, I want to play a clip from an interview I did with someone about LA, and I want to get your reaction to it.
Sounds good.
Okay? This is a 5-minute clip, and I'm going to play it and see what you think. So let me raise the volume here and play it for you. Now, can money buy happiness?
No.
Why not?
It can't. Your only happiness can come from Jesus. And that's what people get it fucked up. They be thinking like, once they get this, they're gonna be happy. And once they do this, they're gonna be happy. And then they do that, and they still ain't happy. And then they keep doing it. And I be telling people, I think that's why all these famous people get so fucked up when they move to Hollywood, because it's like, okay, they got everything. They famous now. They got money. They living in LA. And they thinking, you know what I'm saying, they gonna be happy. And then they still ain't happy, and then they start doing drugs and stuff, because it's like they so fucked up, they're trying to figure out why they ain't happy, but really you just gotta find God, find Jesus.
Now, have you seen this with your own personal eyes, or is this...
Many times.
Okay.
In many situations. Like, especially being in Hollywood and being in the industry, you see a lot of that.
Now, were there ever times you almost yourself got wrapped up into that scenario, or no?
Well, as far as the drugs, no, because I never, I don't want to do that, because I done seen that to know, so I know better. But, like, as far as, like, probably, like, in Hollywood, if you in the industry, the devil, they, like Illuminati, all that shit, they try to get you. especially when you got a big influence, you around that shit. They'll try to get anybody, but you just gotta be smart and have discernment and have God's favor over you. Cause if you don't got that and you in Cali, you gonna get sucked in for sure.
What are some of the ways they do try to get to a person of that magnitude?
Let me tell you, what they do is they invite you to these parties, these house parties, and then they be like, oh, Whoop the Whoop gonna be there, like your favorite rapper, the big ass person, and Whoop the Whoop gonna be there. Oh, before you get in, you gotta give us your phones and all this shit, and then they might do some gay shit to somebody, and then try to and record it and tell them, oh, if you expose us, we gonna post it everywhere.
Black man.
And I know that from word of ear, but I know they do a lot of crazy shit in these house parties, and
have leverage over people.
Also, what I was about to say? Oh, okay. Let me tell you an experience I went through personally. So I was with some friends in LA, and it was this big influencer party. Should I say her name? It was Bella Thorne party. So I got invited from some other friends. It was on Halloween. I already don't celebrate Halloween. That's the devil's day. But I happened to be with them, and they was going. I was like, fuck it, let's go. So it already was a lot of signs. The party said you have to be half naked. I'm like, first of all, I ain't going half naked nowhere. Second of all, it was like a lot of signs that was adding up that night. Like the same night on Hollywood Boulevard, the party was off Hollywood Boulevard. Some guy got shot and killed on Hollywood Boulevard, so the whole street was shut down. So that was another sign. So then we get to the party. You know, this is the beginning of all this COVID stuff. So we get up there. They tell me, oh yeah, you can't bring your phone in. I'm like, first of all, who ain't bringing their phone in? I'm bringing my motherfucking phone in. I don't give a fuck who you is. It could have been Kim Kardashian, and I'm bringing my phone. And then you gotta sign some papers. What am I signing some shit for to get into a party? Like, what? Like, I'm from Atlanta. We don't do shit like that.
Waivers and then all that.
This is where it really threw me off. They said they had to prick your blood to get in.
Yeah.
I said, oh, no, I'm good. Everyone else went. I called my Uber and left. Like, that's the shit where I think they be trying to get you. And, like, if it's like good thing about it, people move to L.A. for a dream. They chasing money, fame, clout, whatever. So they got to think about it. Somebody, like a young girl that's trying to get on, that just moved out there, she gon', oh, hell yeah, Bella Thorne, and you don't know who else in it. Like, connections. Me, I'm good. Like, that shit gonna come naturally. I don't gotta prick my finger, take my blood to get into a party. If it's meant to happen, it's gonna happen. I'm not finna do something like that.
Now, you did, the others did actually attend that party.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear what ended up happening at the party and things of that nature? Or?
No, I didn't even ask them. And I don't judge them. Like, that's them. I can't help what they do. Yeah.
Now, for time reference, it's August 2021 now. Okay, that was an interview I did with Vicky.
Yeah.
And that was her experience there.
Yeah.
What did you think of that conversation? What have you experienced? What really goes down?
That's not the first story. That's not the, I mean, I've heard so much shit, I'm gonna let people believe what they want type shit, you know what I mean? But energy don't lie, you know what I mean? So if you're around certain things and you're feeling certain things and you know what the fuck's going on, she was talking about, things weren't adding up and the universe speaks to you type shit. So if you listen to that, cool, you know deep down when the fuck, oh man, this shit's not really, but you're doing it anyway or some shit. You shouldn't be doing things like that. And I think that's where the whole selling your soul comes from, you know what I mean? You start doing things that aren't true to you simply to get to somewhere. I think that's what Shorty was talking about. And it gets real out there, and it's all, I've realized in Hollywood it's really about power and who holds the power and shit like that. So, you know what I mean? I don't want to say too much, tread on toes and shit, but, you know what I mean? It's just, I think if you just do, like she was saying, it comes naturally. If you just stick to that and believe in that, you'll get to where you need to get to. Shouldn't be having to do anything to take no shortcuts. If you taking shortcuts, know that your shit is gonna fall and you're gonna end up on your ass, because real foundations are built off of solid, you know what I mean? It takes time, you know what I mean? So if anything's coming fast or you're being offered things from people like that, you might want to think on that shit, not make decisions and stuff. And if you know what I mean, if you end up at a fucking party that's not resonating with you, then get the fuck on out of there before some shit happens that's not even in your control. You don't know. So something might get slipped in your drink. You might end up in some motherfucking situation you possibly had no idea, had no intention. Now there's pictures and videos and shit. Don't chill around the wrong motherfuckers. Just because your lifestyle's leveling up don't mean you gotta bring a whole bunch of new motherfuckers you don't know into your life, into your circle. Feel that shit the fuck out. Trust yourself. If you gotten to that point, like you gotten that far, you must be doing something right. So keep doing that. You know what I mean? Don't Don't let motherfuckers come in and start, belittling you or telling you what the fuck to do or any of that type of shit. Don't do that. You know what I mean?
So I have two questions for you, and then I'll end the interview.
Yeah.
First, to the audience watching, with the blood pricking thing, I didn't really question her further on that, but I don't know if that had to do something with COVID or not. Just putting that out there.
Oh, okay.
It was on Halloween. I don't know if it had something to do with that or not either. So...
You never know these dudes. Like, straight up. That's what I'm saying. I let people believe whatever... Oh, shit, my fault. But I just let people believe whatever the fuck they want to believe and what resonates with them. This is another thing, too. Some people can get down with this. Some people can't. Whatever the fuck you're putting all your focus and energy into, whether it's positive or negative, that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to be creating more in your life. So... If your intention, if you're trying to make it in the industry, if you're trying to make it in anything, and your intention is to just better your people, then just fucking focus on that. Don't focus on all this other shit. Be aware of what's going on so you don't end up in some stupid-ass situation. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But just stay focused on what your original intentions are. Don't get distracted by all the new shit that comes in with the lifestyle.
So I was incorrect. I have 3 final questions for you in regards to this topic.
Yeah.
1, have you ever sold your soul personally?
Hell no. No.
Okay. 2, is the blackmail example real?
The blackmail example
Extortion,
real?
things of that nature that she mentioned.
Oh, blackmail,
where people...
hell yeah. No, for sure. I mean, why wouldn't it be? I mean, that's in any aspect of life. Yeah, hell yeah. But especially in that industry, how powerful, it's a fucking, billion-dollar industry turned out. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, you could guarantee this shit's damn near like the mob or some shit, But like I said, I'm not trying to say too much.
Right. I know you're not going to say too much, and I respect that. So here's my last question. I don't know if you're going to answer it or not, but I'll still ask anyways. Mm-hmm. The Illuminati, is that real?
I'm always going to come back to this while we're on these topics, but it just depends into what you believe in. I could sit here and say, yeah, it's real, but what is it exactly? What's my perception of it? You know what I mean? So, I think anything is pretty much fucking real. I mean, I don't think ideas just come from out of nowhere. I don't think things are just made the fuck up for the most part. So I think things are real, but it could, there could be different interpretations of things. I think what you're asking me, like, is there like a Illuminati where people are selling their souls and shit like that? Shit, maybe. I don't, you know what I mean? I know there's definitely some questionable things going on. I mean, you can just look around in Hollywood and just things in the past and wonder what the fuck that's about, you know what I mean? But, yeah, I mean, I do think that, things like that are real, yeah, for sure.
Never been approached about it?
No, sir, no.
And for time reference, it's November 2021 now.
Mm-hmm.